Hello and welcome.
Hello, hello.
That was the silent. That was like the mime right there. The silent
Now
wave.
I'm going to pull an invisible rope,
All right. Oh, you're
Okay.
good at this stuff. I like it. Well, welcome. We are doing Farmcraft Land Demand, and it is great to have you join us today. My name is Claire LeBeau, and I am joined by. Dun, dun, dun,
I am
dun.
Eric Leitner. I am the education content producer for Clever Lake Studios. We like taking the games you love and sneaking in the vegetables where all the learning happens, but we do it in the most fun way imaginable. And I mean
Yes.
that both for you and for us. We have fun doing what we're doing.
There's no doubt about that. And I love that you are sneaking in the vegetables because we do love a good pun. So, yes, I
Always.
think you use that phrase pre-Farmcraft though, because
That
that
was always
is,
Brian's phrase,
yeah,
always. But you know,
yeah, and that is something that Clever Like is really good at, and that is engaging kids where they love to be in the games that they love to play, and then teaching them either core curriculum or career skills or something like that. And that is why NASEF is so glad to partner with you. And we have some exciting stuff to share today. So we're going to get right to it because I feel like we might have more than we normally do
I
to
think we
share
do.
today. There are 2 people present, but we have a lot of student work, which we always like to highlight. So we are, as I said, in Farmcraft Land Demand, and we're going to share a few challenges from earlier in the season. So the first ones that we're going to share are some blogs. So Eric, can you talk a little bit about preseason and regular season, just to sort
Yeah.
of frame what we're doing?
Yeah, so in the preseason, we very much do not provide you with anything except for access to Minecraft and a prompt to research, to explore, and then to build out and explain everything that you may have learned through that research process. So pretty much building a world where you can share the learning, the knowledge, whether it was prior knowledge or new knowledge that you've acquired through that process of that initial preseason challenge, right? It's getting all the foundational knowledge that we're then going to potentially use in the regular season. And as we get to the regular season, we provide you with the structured game world that we offer. That's where the actual esports element, that competition takes place. And we do like to offer, of course, regular season challenges which ask you to try things in those games, right? Yes, you're eventually going to go for your high score, right? And your best time in those game worlds. But we want you to experiment with it a little bit because the experimentation is going to give you both those learning aha moments and it's going to make your practices for developing your strategies, your communication skills, and so on with your teammates. You're going to slowly sort of perfect those over the process of participating in those regular season challenges. That's what they're doing sort of in the background for you. And some of you, based on the blog posts and your video entries, kind of figured that out.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Where they were frustrated, well, you all were sort of celebrating over at Clever Lake Studios because you said, yes, that's exactly, they're supposed to be frustrated at this point
Yeah, at least
because
for
there's a
challenge one, they
lesson.
definitely were supposed to.
Yeah, there's a lesson to be learned here. I just wanted to do that little recap because as recently as this morning, I was receiving emails saying, when does Farmcraft start? Can I register? Can we participate? And I know we're going to go through how to register later in this stream, but I do want to remind everyone, yes, it is open. You can still register and join. So we want to be sure that you are aware of the full slate of opportunities that you have. We do still have the preseason challenges up and available on the website, and then of course the regular season challenges. So we're going to first look at some blogs that were submitted by some students for regular season challenge 1. And the focus on regular season challenge 1 was on food. And Eric, do you want to mention anything about that regular season challenge?
Yeah, so the goal of it, and we always kind of either had alliteration or puns. That one was focus on food, which is something we've been doing since the beginning of Farmcraft. And this is really the first time where food isn't the only thing we're growing. So what happens if we maintain the mindset of just, we got to grow food, we got to grow food, we got to grow food? What happens in this game world if we think that way, right? And then, of course, one of the questions that was in that prompt was, can you even finish the game if that's all you do?
Yes. And the answer is
Oh, absolutely not.
probably not. Yes, we don't think you're going to be able to do that. So we're going to just go through a few of these. The first thing was in the submission, we do have a screenshot of the score, and that is going to be very important as we go along and share, submit scores for the leaderboard to see who won. Because yes, this is a competition, and so we do want to get the best scores. But we're just going to scroll through here and read a little bit from these students. So this group said it was hard to maintain all of the farms at the same time. I thought it was fun, but I also noticed it's a lot to maintain at the same time.
Claire, I think you're sharing the wrong screen as you read
Am I?
it. You might be.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I was like, wait, am I not reading along in the right place?
I'm not reading the right one. Okay, I'm going to close with that one because some of these, this one was pretty funny. And the one I actually just started accidentally reading to you is much more, they have a more serious approach, and both are fantastic. But so again, you'll see the screenshot and you will see some scores there, and that's something that you want to submit when you get to the end for the leaderboard. That does not change. So here we go. So at the start, it was really, really hard because we had to like start the whole world and we didn't know what to do. Eric, if you don't know what to do, what can you do to find out?
That is a really good question. One, watch all of these streams again, right? We've even in the fall season, we played through so much. And if you've got that video content, right, which I know we have linked in all the teacher resources, right? We do walkthroughs of all of it. But also the number one thing I recommend is, and well, you know what? I'll give two. One is, we have a tendency when there's dialogue in the game to just click next. Read what they're saying to you. They are guiding you through the process. And there are lots of clues and hints along the way within that dialogue. And then, of course, two is, and this is what some people are realizing, is trial and error, right? If we play it and we don't know what to do, the more we kind of experiment with what to do in the world, the more we're going to figure it out.
Right. Right. It's really important to read what the farmer's telling you, what the mayor's telling you, all of those things as you go along, because they are telling you what comes next and where do you go, and, you know, interact with the computer. All of those things are important. So if you don't know what to do, stop and read. And also, yes, definitely watch the videos. So this person says, I thought the seeds were free, but they're not free. You have to buy them every single time. And I didn't know that. That was so confusing. But then me and Hudson figured it out, and we kept going. We got to milestone 2. We were so close to milestone 3, but we had to stop on Monday. It was sad, but it's okay because we're going to get it next time. The coolest thing that happened was when I started cutting lumber, and then I looked and there were more people in the town. I didn't even know that was going to happen. It just happened. And then the bugs were eating all our plants, and we were like, oh no, oh no. So we had to split up, and one of us sprayed the pesticide and one of us did the herbicide, and it worked. Ooh, there's teamwork happening there. Excellent. The hardest part is just waiting. Farming takes so long. You just have to wait and wait and wait and wait. And I really don't like waiting that much. For challenge 2, we already know what we're going to do. Hudson is going to buy all the seeds, and I'm going to be at the lumber yard, and we're going to check our plants all the time so nothing dies. Because we learned that if you don't take care of everything, the whole town doesn't work. Oh, and real farming takes like 25 days for just 1 carrot. 1 carrot. That's so long. I could never. But Farmcraft, we got this.
I love it. Right. You even in that, like, one, the student voice is awesome. And 2, you could see their journey from the chaos to like, we know what we're going to try next as a strategy. And that was absolutely the goal here.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Excellent job to those students. And then I'm going to share another one. Hopefully I'm actually sharing the one I'm reading. So please stop me if not.
I think you're
again,
good.
You'll see screenshot and score, which is very important to have when we get to that final phase. So they say, when we first started challenge 1, we honestly didn't know what we were getting into. We jumped in, started farming food, cutting trees, growing cotton, just trying to figure out what we needed to do to get to the next tier. We spent a lot of our money early on at the wrong time. And for a second, we were like, wait, how do we get this back? But we figured it out. We grew our population, kept pushing, and got back on track. It wasn't perfect, but we finished it, and that felt really good. That's the trial and error you were talking about, huh? We each had our own jobs to handle, but things got crazy when one of us accidentally started all 4 tasks at the same time. We were like, oh my gosh, I need help. You guys need to come. And everyone dropped what they were doing and ran over. That's kind of how we learned that even if you have your own station, you can't just ignore everyone else. If someone's struggling, you go help them. We didn't plan for teamwork to be the big thing we learned, but it kind of was. The coolest part was realizing how farming actually connects to everything in real life. Like the more food you have, the more people you can feed. More cotton means more clothes. More lumber means more houses. It all links. We even figured out that too much fertilizer can glitch your crops and mess up everything. Yeah, that happened to us. Next time, we already know what we're doing differently. We're going to set bigger goals at each tier, stay focused, and actually check on our crops after we move to the next station. Challenge 2, we're ready.
Love it.
Excellent.
Right.
Excellent.
We could see like, look, one was written very like, natural voice, kind of like, the realization, and one was written very clearly and concisely, but both of those are student voice. Right. And both of them came up with very similar conclusions and like even had sort of a similar journey through the process.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay. And then now I'm going to circle back to the one that I first started with. And here we go. This is our last blog that we'll share for challenge 1. And it says, I noticed it was hard to maintain all of the farms at the same time. I already read this, so I'm going to kind of skim along here. If I did not have many people with me doing this as my teammates, this project would prove to be hard. I did not only focus on food because I didn't know that was the challenge. I can tell you that if it was not for my teammates, I would not have completed the challenge, for it took a lot of work. I worked on the farm while my other teammates spread out and did cotton and lumber. Once my teammate was done with lumber while it was processing, she would come help me with food. My other 2 teammates did cotton. This way we spread out and did all the jobs at once, easily finishing challenge number 1 quickly. This reflects the real-world use of land farming by showing us how much care, time, and work farmers put into their crops. This game explains to us how to take care of plants and how to build a community. We need cotton for clothes, lumber for shelter, and food for survival. Without these key factors, we will not be able to build our economy and our population will not grow. Everybody had to chip in to pass challenge 1. And then they're saying, because they got a little confused and they moved ahead. So they're saying, we didn't do specifically challenge 1, but we put our hard work in and we really tried to complete the challenge the best way we could. In the end, we decided to not redo the whole challenge and just go with what we had. I hope you understand our problem and give us a fair chance to compete in this competition.
And you've got it. We understand. And I'll say that you actually, look, we didn't give one set of instructions of the way you absolutely like rigidly had to follow it, right? In this case, you, the individual who was the student voice in this particular blog entry, were focusing on food and everyone else on your team wasn't, right? So they were go off doing their own thing and then helping you with food, but you stayed focused on food and you realized that if they didn't do their part, you weren't going to get anywhere, right? And that was the goal. So you just kind of came to the same realization in a slightly different way.
Right, exactly. So keep on submitting these blogs or these videos for all of the challenges. Number 1, it helps other people know what to do. And we love to highlight these. We're going to keep highlighting these on our social media also. So keep your eyes tuned to NASEF social media and see if you get a shout out for your work there. And then let's go ahead and go on. So the next thing we're going to share is a video, and this comes from a team in Bangladesh. Is that correct?
That is correct. And this was for challenge 2, regular season challenge 2. So we did a bunch of challenge 1s in blog form. We're going to show one from challenge 2 in video form. And challenge 2 was compare and contrast, right? So we already focused on food. And, how if all we do is focus on food, we don't really make any of the connections that we need to make, or we can't even really finish the challenge whatsoever, which was kind of the point of realization, the aha moment we were supposed to have. But now it's how does growing these other crops compare to growing food, which is something we've done through Farmcraft, again, for 5 years now, right? Yeah. All of a sudden, we're introducing 2 totally different crops with totally different purposes. And how does growing these compare to growing food? What's similar? Right. What's different?
Right. Different crops, different purposes, and also different pests. So now it's not just the caterpillars that you're concerned about, right? There's more than that. So let's go ahead and we will take a look at this video.
Hello, this is Team RAC Solaris. Today, our presentation will be on compare and contrast. In this challenge, we expanded our focus beyond food to include other essential needs of a community.
All three, food, clothing, and shelter, depend on land, water, labor, and time. Each type of crop requires proper management, including soil care, space allocation, and consistent resources. Just like food crops, fiber crops and timber also need planning to ensure steady production and sustainability.
However, there are key differences. In real life, some food crops grow relatively quickly and must be replanted often, while fiber crops like cotton take longer and require specific conditions. Timber, on the other hand, used for shelter, takes the longest to grow but provides long-term value.
Balancing these needs leads to a more stable and growing population. Unlike focusing only on food, diversifying crops allows the community to develop clothing and housing, improving overall quality of life and supporting expansion.
Farmers and planners also face similar challenges. Land is limited, and choosing what to grow involves trade offs. Focusing too much on one resource can create shortages in others. Sustainable systems require diversity, resource management, and long term thinking.
Meeting basic needs like food is important, but true progress comes from supporting all aspects of life: food, clothing, and shelter.
With this, we conclude our presentation. Thank you.
That was a great summary at the end there too. Well done.
I also loved the comparison to challenge one, right? Like they brought back the idea of like, this is why we don't focus on food, right? And I also like that they didn't focus necessarily on all the physical aspects that were different, but also some of the, cultural or regional concerns, right? Like how something that's similar around all of them is planning, right? All of them require planning, which is conceptual, not a physical thing that we can touch, right? Diversifying crops, again, something that is conceptual, not necessarily something we can point to. We could if we had a large enough landmass to point to, but it's something that we have to consider in our minds when planning to have all the resources our community needs. And they nailed that.
Right, exactly. I feel sometimes it's amazing to me how much we can teach through a game like Farmcraft.
I kind of wanted to go give a little just behind the scenes in the planning of what we do when it comes to Farmcraft, because you had mentioned the different pests. They had mentioned some of the different pests. We really had a moment of considering, okay, we've got pests in our food crops. We've got pests in our cotton, right? And our textile crops.
Uh-huh.
Do we put pests in our lumber as well? Because in the real world, yes, that is an actual issue. One example of that right now is not just in lumber farming, but in trees as a whole. So including the forestry services and things like that are dealing with pine beetles, which are literally causing the extinction of certain types of trees.
Right. I know we recently took a drive through the mountains, and you can see huge swaths of the forest that they're just brown. And it's the beetle infestation that's destroying them.
It's a real thing to consider, but be glad, I guess, you didn't have to manage it in this version of the game. Who knows for next season,
Yeah, you took mercy on the players and said 2 types of pests is enough to deal with right
Right.
now.
We're already introducing more. Let's let that be for a little bit and let that one let that sink in a little bit before we throw more at you.
Right, exactly. So we're going to go on and discuss now challenge 3. So we have talked about focusing on food and then comparing and contrasting. Now challenge 3 is about maximizing your strategies.
Exactly right. And that's what you've been doing, hopefully, this whole process, right? You realized we gave you a strategy intentionally for challenge 1 that doesn't work. Then we wanted you to explore all aspects and start to realize, and again, from these entries we're seeing they have, how valuable it is to make sure we're doing our best job of planning and managing all aspects of everything we're growing, which is challenging, which also requires communication and collaboration and teamwork. And all of those things together really define what our strategies for gameplay are. And I'm going to be modeling exactly what not to do, which is playing all by myself.
If anyone could do it, it is you, Eric. I was just going to say, I love that in the submissions that we shared today, the students were already sharing some of the information that you're looking for here. How will you strategize? What will you think of to succeed next time? What are the factors to consider? And it's good that we're already seeing that type of reflection from the students. So let's go ahead and hop into the world, which you have been playing for a very long time to get us to this point. So
I'm very close to the end. And how I know I'm close to the end is one, all of my plots have been unlocked, right? So I know I'm in milestone 4. But also if I go to the computer, it tells me that to meet my next requirement, right, I can see what I need. I need to reach a population of 50,000, which means I need 5,000 food units, 5,000 clothing units, and 40,000 lumber units.
Right. And just to note again to the students who were saying, we didn't know what to do, we were wandering around lost. There are clues for you if you interact with these different, the mayor, the computer, those kind of things.
That's exactly it. Right. So I can see from my score on the right that I'm pretty close to all of them, right? I have to get lumber to 40,000. It's at 38,000. I've got to get food to 5,000 and cotton to 5,000, and they're pretty close. The other thing is you have this data tablet, and this offers so much to you in terms of strategy, because if I open up my data tablet, and in this case, I go to my harvest menu, I can see that I actually have enough unprocessed food that I don't need to keep wasting time growing food, right? As long as I process this food that I've already grown, I will go over that 5,000 processed food limit that I need. Same with my unprocessed cotton versus this. In fact, I've grown too much, right? Now, I don't have any unprocessed lumber, but I haven't met my goal, which means there's probably still lumber to harvest.
Okay.
Right? So what I want to do is I want to get... let's move the data tablet. I want to get these things processing, right? So I'm going to get my food and my cotton back on track and get them processing. And when we're looking on the right, we can see
moving, so it's happening.
Numbers are going up, but I'm clearly short on lumber, right? So I'm going to go here. The other thing here is, again, if I open up the data tablet and I go to my inventory, I know that I have to replace trees with saplings. And if I look way out there, I got 2 trees left, right? So I only need to buy the ones I need, right? So I'm going to buy 2 saplings, and we're going to head out there, and we're going to get those trees harvested, and we're going to place our saplings, and then we're going to head back to the hub.
All right.
Okay, so we'll put this one down here, and we'll use one of our saplings, and we'll do the same over here. And we'll replace that one with a sapling. The other thing I mentioned was your data tablet, right? Like now I'm literally as far away from the farmer over there as I could get on this map.
Yes.
But instead of running all the way back there, I can save time by just teleporting to hub from my data tablet, right? And I'm back here. And I can see now that I have lumber to process. So let's get that going. Now, admittedly, I got myself to a point where that was all I had left to do. So now my only thing left to do is wait for those numbers to tick up before I see my final score. So we're going to sit here and we're going to watch those numbers tick up. Could I keep farming? In fact, look, I have crops that are not even harvested that I grew, but I know I don't need them. And that should have been part of my planning. I should have been carefully looking at my harvest menu in here and realizing that I've got more. In fact, we can now see that I've reached the 5,000 limit on those, and our processed lumber is getting real close. But look at all this leftover crop that I grew that is not needed by the community. Same with this cotton that's just sitting here in the field that I'm never going to harvest. That was both a waste of my time and a waste of my money. So that is something to consider, right?
Congratulations.
Right? We got our congratulations. And I want you to notice, and this is really important, that the scoreboard has changed. Right? 1, the ticks have stopped counting. Everything has stopped counting. And I also have 2 additional scores on there that I didn't have before. I have a climate score and a creative score. This is what needs to be submitted. Now, people always ask, what's the creative score? Was that creative farming? Like, no, that's not what that's for. That's an internal metric that we use when you submit the score so that we know you've reached the end of the game.
Got it. So I don't have any objectives related to creative. It
Correct.
just pops up at the very end. Okay.
Yeah, it is just there. So now all I have to do is take a screenshot of that. And there's a bunch of ways to do this. If you have a screenshot tool or a shortcut on whatever platform you're using, like on an iOS device, you're playing on a tablet. I know it's like hit the lock and the home button or whatever it is at the same time, or the volume button, and it takes a screenshot. On a PC, like it is Windows Shift S or the print screen button if you've got a larger keyboard that has a print screen button. So if I Windows Shift S, I can do that, and I can grab a screenshot. You can't really see while I do that, right? But I can capture a screenshot, and I grabbed a screenshot of that scoreboard, and that is the thing I need to submit. The other thing is, you'll know you're done, is the computer's been telling me what I need to do the whole time. If I go to the computer now, it tells me I'm done, and I can speak to the mayor to know how to submit my score. Let's go to the mayor, right? And look at this.
Yes.
There's a submit score button here. So I'm going to click submit score right here, and that'll actually open the NASEF page that we always tell you to go to in my browser. You couldn't see that because I'm only sharing the one window right now, but we're going to take you there in a second anyway. All right, so I'm going to, let's go ahead and stop sharing this one.
And I love how I noticed that it is saying your population is bigger now. And that's something also that the students commented on as they were submitting is, all of a sudden because we have more resources now, our population is growing as well. And that's really important.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. So if you hit that submit score button, it would actually open your browser right to this page, which is where we've been telling you to go every stream anyway, which is, nasef.org/farmcraft. So we're on that. And yes, look, registration button still there. Team guide still there.
Let's go.
Right. And of course, the challenge 3 will be there, and we're going to show you that one in just a moment. But if you're also ready to submit a score to the leaderboard, you'll see right here, there is a submit score to leaderboard button. And I'm going to click that one. And that's going to bring us to this form. I'm not going to fill out the whole form, but what you'll see is that obviously we need your adult facilitator's name. That is your adult sponsor, whether you have a camp counselor or parent or teacher in the classroom that is submitting for you. Their last name, their email, your team name, whether you're in the junior. Go ahead.
Team name matches the name that you registered at the beginning.
Yes. Yeah. Every once in a while we get one and we're like, we don't know who this team is.
Who is that? We don't know that.
The division you are in, if you what your school or organization is, and if that's not part of one, that's okay. Just make sure you clarify that. Your location, both the state and the country. And then this is what you want to submit, right? So this is just an example one that's in the form, right? And notice that this is one where it shows that 0 creative score. It's got the climate score. It shows that the tick count has stopped, right? We've reached all the values we were supposed to reach, right? I think I did a better job on this run right here because look how close these were to 5,000, right? Much better.
Are you jealous?
Much better job of myself a little bit, right? But you'll notice here, this is where you can click add file and you can upload your image of the screenshot of your score. And then you're going to want to input the data from your image, right? So there's a tick score here. You want to make sure you put that number here, right? There's a balance score. That's how much money you've got. You're going to put that one right there. And there's the climate score, and you're going to want to put that one down here. Now, some of you may be wondering, why am I putting in a balance score or a climate score? And why are these in this order? Overall, doing this in the least amount of ticks, that means doing it in the shortest time, is going to be what we're looking for. But the tiebreakers, right? Or if we get things that are very close that we're going to be looking at are, how efficiently did you do it, right? So if everyone did it in the same amount of time, we want to know how efficiently did you do it? And how much did you consider your climate while doing it, right? So those are going to serve as the additional data that might break a tie.
All right. Excellent. All right.
And then finally, you do, of course, still have access, and those we've talked about it every time, to the LMS version of all of the information. And yes, if we scroll way down,
there's a lot going on now.
Well, now the whole thing is complete, right? So we've got our pre-season challenges, our competitive world download, our regular season challenge 1, our regular season challenge 2, and now our regular season challenge 3. And of course, if we click in there, right, we can see this is our challenge 3 that we just talked about. It's all about what are your team strategies for success.
Mhm.
And then, of course, finally, for submitting that challenge, we have the information and the link on the next page. And then if we keep going, this is how to submit your scores is also in here, along with the link to the form that I just showed you.
Excellent.
We even tell you what to have prepared before you go in there.
That's great. That's great. And it's so good to have this available now in the LMS. We haven't had that before, and I know that really streamlines the process for a lot of people. I will note that we do still have on the NASEF website, on that Farmcraft page that we love so much, PDFs that are available if you are not using an LMS for some reason, or because this is a global program, we do have the guides available in English, Spanish, and French. So if you are looking for other languages, you'll find that as well. So I think we have all the clues that we need. Please be sure, if you're seeing this and you are maybe just doing it and not submitting, you might as well submit. It's worth it. It's worth it for the students to see how they're doing relative to others. And I know they get super excited. One of the things that students always love is prizes.
I think
So
you love the prizes more than they love the prizes. I don't
I
know.
do. I love the prizes so much. I feel seen right now. I definitely love prizes. So we have made these available, and no matter where you live, we are going to get a prize to you if you are a winner. So we have valued at $250, $200, or $100 US, depending on which place you receive, and that is for each division. So for senior and junior division. And then we also have a random draw across all teams that did not win one of those top 3 prizes. And those teams will get a prize valued at $50. And one of the great things about Farmcraft also that I haven't mentioned yet is the cost to participate. It is very high, very difficult to reach. It is no money at all to join. So it's completely free to join. And then also we have Minecraft education available free for you if you would like that. So please register, start participating. At this point, I think you might want to just jump right into regular season. And at the end, maybe for some fun challenges towards the end of the school year or the end of the semester, you could circle back and do the preseason, because even though we use the word preseason, they're really build challenges and they can be done at any point. So then the next thing that we're going to have is already, believe it or not, the winners live stream. So we've got just till the end of this month for you to go through and complete everything that Eric just outlined, play all the way through the game, and then probably you're going to want to do it again, and then maybe again, so that you can get that teamwork down and the collaboration and decide who's doing what and who's filling in the gaps and get those scores to the point where you are happy with them. And you can submit, and then if you play again, you can submit again. We do get that question a lot. So yes, it is fine. You can submit more than one score. I know I'm a very competitive person, and that's what I would be doing. I would turn it in, and then I'd say, oh, wait, I think we could do that a little better. Let's try again one more time. So that's definitely an option. Any last words of encouragement or advice, Eric?
I think they have all the tools in the tool shed that they need. We're gonna go with the puns again.
Oh, there we go.
But I think they've got everything they need. Honestly, my advice at this point is collaborate, determine what your roles in the world are going to be, and ultimately have fun. And if you finish and you're like, we could do better, then challenge yourself, right? You don't know what the other teams are submitting. So the only team you're competing against at this stage is yourself. So keep getting those scores in. And if you're like, we can beat that score, then challenge yourselves and say, we can beat our own score, prove it, and then submit that one too, if you did better.
Right, exactly. Fantastic. Well, the next time we see you, we will be announcing winners. So we can't wait for that one. Please do continue to submit your blogs, your videos, illustrating what you've done, in addition to putting your scores on the leaderboard. And we will see you next time.
Good luck, everyone.